Hey guys, it's Quinn, and in episode 4 of the Fundraiser series, we're going to be taking a look at Spike Lee's groundbreaking 1989 film, Do the Right Thing. This film is brilliant for one simple reason, and I'll get to that, but it'll pretty much take this entire review to build to it, so please bear with me. Now, to start off, I can sit here and on one hand discuss the magnificent cinematography, while on the other hand call out Spike Lee for the fact that many of the characters just aren't sweating at all, even though this film makes an explicit point about the heat, about being 100 degrees out. But for me to sort of go into these nuances would be to chip around the surface for this movie. So let's just jump into the deep end with this one. This film, at its core, is about racial tensions. It asks the question, why do we have such racial tensions in this country? And more importantly, what can we do about it? To summarize the film briefly, so major spoilers, this film focuses on a black neighborhood in Brooklyn, which has a pizza shop ran by Italian Americans, a convenience store ran by Koreans, and that is patrolled by cops who, with one exception, are all white. It goes through one day in this neighborhood, the quote-unquote hottest day in New York, where racial tensions just boil and boil as the day goes on. Eventually, it comes to a point where, when the film ends, there's a fight between the Italians and the African Americans in the pizza shop, with one of the African Americans being killed with a chokehold by a police officer, and then the pizza store getting burned down in the ensuing riots. In doing research for this review, I wanted to find out the reaction that the audience in the US had when it came out in 1989. Their thoughts were effectively as follows. God, this is the same story in the US, over and over again, with racial tensions just needing a light, a flicker, in this case a bit of heat, for it all to boil over yet again. In 1989, they looked at the events of the late 50s and 60s, as many of the characters themselves did in the film, and wondered how a generation could pass, yet we still have these issues perpetuating our society. Fast forward to 2020, with myself watching this film, with a generation passing as well, and I have to say, the exact same thoughts ran through my head. What I saw watching Do the Right Thing, frankly, was nothing more than a synopsis of the last few weeks' events here in the United States. It made me think, God, it's the same story in the US, over and over again. But as I sat here writing this review, I realized that just stating this observation really wasn't that impressive or, frankly, useful. Anyone could watch this movie and see the parallels to real life quite clearly. What this film challenges us to ask, therefore, is not how does this keep happening in the US and then just walking away from it, but why does this keep happening? And then in answering this question, it provides us a gateway for trying to improve ourselves as a society. The actions of the characters on the surface don't provide a clear answer to this why at all. In fact, after the shit show that is the ending of this movie, the characters just effectively carry on with their lives without really confronting introspectively the gravity of the experiences that they went through. All of the characters as one team never explicitly asked what can be done to fix this fractured situation between all these racial groups in this neighborhood. And this is all tactical by Spike Lee for the characters themselves not to answer the question, frankly, let alone even ask why, which I'll get to. But I think the answer is more clear and obvious than we may think. Let me tell you a story of my own, which I think fits into this context pretty well at this point. So Sigmund Freud once explained that every dream holds in it a subconscious truth that the dreamer cannot deny. It's with that in mind that a dream that I had as a late teenager evolved into one of the most significant revelations that I've had in recent memory. In this dream, I was a rugged, middle-aged soldier standing in a large warehouse alongside my platoon. As a soldier, obviously, I'd been assigned to take down something. In this case, it was a mysterious figure that had been hunting us for weeks. When we finally confronted the figure, we realized that it wasn't something we could just defeat with our bare hands. It was something more intangible. It's a little goofy, but it was death himself in this case. Again, it was a dream. Standing there, now alone, I don't know where my platoon went. I was told I'd be spared if I could answer the simple question, what is the meaning of life? In this dream state, what my subconscious came up with almost immediately, that life is about being happy, but while also being good to those around you. And then I woke up. Now, how does this all tie together to why I think this film is brilliant? Why did I tell the story? Well, as I mentioned, every character realizes that what happened to their neighborhood was unjust, just across the board. And I observed that the film ends with the characters, crying in the streets, bemoaning the fact that this keeps happening in the United States. However, none of them ask really how this can be fixed, and then the film ends. The brilliance of this film, however, is that Spike Lee provides the answer to how to fix us from the very beginning. It is very clear in my eyes that everything could have been avoided in this film if people put their differences aside and acted good to each other based on who they were as individuals. After all, as probably the most righteous character in the film, the mayor, demonstrates throughout, and as I myself explained in my aforementioned dream, doing well by others is what life is all about. If this whole metaphor at this point isn't clear by now, I'll just state it explicitly. Spike Lee is saying very clearly that if we want to change as a society, what we have to decide to do simply is just to do the right thing. This video is sponsored by a resident of the North Bay Area, California. This channel is committed to giving every American an equal opportunity in this country, which is why all proceeds will be donated to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. If you're interested in sponsoring a future review video, please feel free to fill out the poll in the description below. Thank you for watching, and remember, black, white, left, and right, we're all in this together. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.